So which ARPod model is right for you? In this video, we're going to give you 5 questions to ask to help you determine the right ARPod for you. So hi everybody, this is John Marucci and thanks for visiting the On the Road YouTube channel. This channel is all about helping you get the most out of your ARPod experience. So before we get going, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos are published. And if you want to dive deeper, we put more content and photos on our Instagram and Twitter feed at John Marucci. Okay, so which ARPod is right for you? We're going to go through 5 questions to help determine that, and then go through a couple scenarios and also talk about actual floor plans, what might work best for people. So let's look at the 5 questions. The first question is, where do you plan on spending most of your time? Okay, if you plan on spending most of your time outside and not in the ARPod, that makes a big difference to what model you might choose. However, if you plan on spending most of your time inside, maybe you're going to work from your ARPod extensively, or you like relaxing inside, or maybe you're going to spend most nights watching TV and relaxing and entertainment, that's also going to determine what you do. So the first question is, where do you plan on spending most of your time? Okay, the second question is, how do you plan on using the bathroom? Okay, this is really important too because different ARPod models have different baths. Some have wet baths, which are just the shower and the toilet together, and others have dry baths, which are separate showers from toilets. Okay, so if you just plan to use a toilet only and then use the campsite, facilities to take showers, versus if you're going to plan on using the toilet and the shower in your ARPod, that's a different scenario. And maybe you might not want to use your shower and toilet at all and just use what's at the campsite. That's also a different scenario. People do all these different things. So it's important to understand how you plan on using the bath. All right, the third question to ask is, how do you plan to prepare meals? So this has to do with your kitchen space. Now the ARPods are very different on the size of the kitchen space. Some have large kitchens, some have very small kitchens. So if you're someone who just plans on cooking outdoor all the time or going out to eat, that's very different than if you're someone who plans on, doing easy meals inside the ARPod, maybe using the microwave or making sandwiches, versus someone who plans on really cooking meals from scratch in the kitchen. So you're going to need to consider that when you look at floor plans and what you plan on buying. Okay, the fourth question, which is again very important, is who will be going with you? So if it's just you and a dog, that's a very different situation than if you plan on bringing several kids. And it makes a real difference in terms of the model you look at. So you have to look at the number of people, basically age and gender, and how big are your kids. Maybe you have a football player in the family that's going to take up a lot of space. So things to consider. And the fifth question is, how much stuff do you plan on taking with you? So this has all to do with the storage size of the ARPod. Some ARPods have a lot of storage. Other ones don't have too much. So you got to be aware of that when you go into looking at these models. All right, so now let's go through some real life scenarios, and then we're going to look at some actual floor plans to do with these scenarios. So the first scenario is Cindy. Now Cindy is a single person. She wants to travel and work from her ARPod primarily. So Cindy works a kind of job where she can work remotely, maybe a tech job or whatnot. So that makes a difference to the kind of ARPod she wants to get because she's got to work from inside the ARPod regularly. So for her living space, where does she plan to spend her time? It's going to be mainly indoor, mainly inside the ARPod, but she wants to go outside some after work. So the first question is really the answer. She's going to be indoor a lot. The second question is, how does she plan on using the bathroom again? She wants the privacy of her own bath. She really isn't interested in going to a public bathroom much. She wants to use the ARPod bath, but she may be open to a wet bath. So she doesn't have to have a big dry bath. She's open to a wet bath. The third question for Cindy is, how does she plan to eat, right? So the kitchen space is really important to Cindy. She's an active person and likes to eat healthy and actually cooks most of her own meals. So she's very interested in having a decent kitchen. The fourth question was, who's going to be going with Cindy? So for her, usually it's just going to be her, but occasionally she wants to have a friend come along. So that's also an important question for her, but usually it's just going to be her. And the final question is, number 5, how much do you plan to bring, right? So for Cindy, she's going to bring a lot of stuff because she's going to be on the road for extended periods. So storage is important. So given that, let's look at a couple ARPod floor plans and see which works best for Cindy. So we're going to look at the ARPod 171 first, and that's on the screen right now, the floor plan. So if you look at the floor plan, it has a nice large queen bed. That'd be great. It's got a wet bath, which she's open to. And look, it's got a nice dinette, 42 inches wide, 74 long, that she can work from. So really a good idea, kind of fits the bill for what she's looking for. It's not too large, right? And the kitchen isn't big, but the stove is important to understand. The stove is inset and the cover folds down so you can use that for counter space and prep space. So it's not bad. So this isn't a bad choice for Cindy. It basically checks every mark. Maybe not the biggest kitchen, and the floor plan isn't that big either. So just a couple things. Let's compare that to the 179. Now the 179 is a little bigger. It's got more floor space. It's got a huge kitchen, as you can see, right? A lot of space to prep food, which she'd probably be happy with. It also has a wet bath, which she's open to. It's got a big dinette area that she can work from, and a nice queen size bed. So the plus of this over the 179, really, the only main difference is it's got a lot more interior space, which if you're in there a long time, might be worth considering. Okay, so that's our first scenario, Cindy. So let's look at the second one. This is Bob and Judy. Bob and Judy are a married couple. They're still working and they're not retired yet. They plan on using their R-Pod mainly for weekends and maybe some extended vacations a week or two at a time. And it's important to them that they have a nice unit that they can take with them and have a base that they can operate from for being outside mainly. Now for their living space question, like how much time do they plan on living in the R-Pod, mainly they're going to not work from the R-Pod and be outside most of the time. So it's not that important that they are inside either for comfort, relaxation, for cooking, and for entertainment. Their people are going to be staying outside most of the time. How do they plan on using the bath space? Well, they're fairly particular about baths. So what they want to do is be able to use their bath in the R-Pod all the time. They're not interested in the public restroom at the local campground. So they want a larger dry bath. They're not really interested in the wet bath at all, right? So they're looking for a dry bath unit. So what about eating, right? So they like to cook outside. Bob and Judy are people who are either going to cook outside, they're going to take their vehicle and go into town and eat out. They're not going to cook inside much. It's important to understand and calculate in the scenarios. Okay, but about sleeping space. So usually it's going to just be them. However, Bob and Judy do have 2 young grandkids that they like bringing with them, especially on weekends. So they need space for them to sleep once in a while. Okay, what about stuff? So Bob and Judy don't have a lot of stuff they want to bring with them. Again, it's mainly weekend stuff. And when they're going on longer trips, they're not going to bring a whole lot of stuff with them. So we're going to look at 3 different models for R-Pods that all have dry baths that may fit the need for Bob and Judy. So let's first look at the R-Pod 180. This is a larger unit, a lot of floor space. If you look at the diagram with me, the floor plan, look at the bathroom space, really big for the R-Pod. Got a separate shower and toilet, lots of space there. You notice it doesn't have a big kitchen, which is fine for them. It's got a nice queen bed where they can sleep at night, but they don't really need a lot of space inside. This does have a lot of floor space. The one thing to notice here is the size of the dinette. So they have a couple grandkids, remember, and those grandkids are not large yet, but even 24 inches isn't very wide to have 2 grandkids sleep. So this is a problem and may not be suitable for what they want to do. But there are 2 other newer models, 189 and 190, that may meet their needs. So let's look at the 189 now. The 189 has pretty much everything that the 180 has. It has a smaller dry bath. You notice it does have a separate shower and toilet, which is fine for them. It doesn't have a huge kitchen, which is fine for them. The same queen bed, but you'll notice it has a sofa. Now this sofa jackknifes down into a bed, so both of their kids, their grandkids, smaller grandkids, should be able to sleep there fine. So this 189 may really fit the bill. And the 190 is very similar, almost identical to the 189, but instead of a sofa that jackknifes down, it has a dinette that you can make into a bed. So this may really work as well. Okay, so we've gone through the 5 questions. We'll put those 5 questions on the description below the video, as well as a link to the R-Pod floor plan so you can do your own research. It's really good to go through those questions and understand fully how you plan on using your R-Pod before you purchase. And by the way, if you're watching this and you're already an R-Pod owner, I'd love to hear from you in the comments what model you bought and the main reason for you purchasing that model. That putting your comments on may really help people make a decision on the proper R-Pod for them. And by the way, on the screen you should see the R-Pod first birthday review. I did a review a little bit back about my 179 on its first birthday. Really helpful review for those of you who want to delve deeper on some of my things I really liked and disliked about the 179 after 1 year, and also some things we had to get done in warranty that might help you level set expectations. Anyway, we appreciate you joining us today. Thanks for watching. This is John Marucci, and so long for now.